lean back on my elbows and catch sight of my cormorant, poised and ready for the first mackerel of the day. It takes off as if called by a voice I can't hear and disappears into the sea. I've learned to be patient. I light my pipe and breathe in the first smell of tobacco. The water breaks and the bird's blackness catches my attention. It lands on a groin. Droplets of water glisten on its wings. Then it takes off and dives again. I count down 1 minute, maybe a few seconds more. I try to hold my breath for as long as the cormorant does. The ocean parts as it surfaces. Secure back to the rocks, it opens its plumage to the sun. Sometimes like this I feel Stephen's next to me. I feel his breath on my neck. It's just the ease of the breeze. Other times I think I see him, with his hand right at the shoreline. I rub my eyes and he's gone. Grief takes different shapes, they say. Sometimes when I lie awake, my imagination takes flight. A tree branch taps at my bedroom window. I believe it to be Stephen out there and want to let him in. Or when the moon's full, a shadow crosses the room and fools me into thinking he's come back for me. I know in my heart of hearts he's gone forever from this life. Gone just after the Great War. Taken too soon after all he'd achieved looking after his fisherfolk, made our boat safe. Like the engine he pioneered, there was a reliability about him. To many he was away with the fairies, yet he did good, in his own strange but not of course obsessive way. He was never strong of body or mind. When the Spanish flu took hold, he was world-weary, always prone to dark moods and tormented by our secret. He struggled to breathe as the fever soaked and drained him. His lungs were clogged up, silted with phlegm. He drowned in his own liquid, a sort of fisherman's death. When the sickness blew in during an early February 1919, the days were marked by hymns, prayers, silences. The smell of disinfectant seeped everywhere through the house as Mrs. Woolley took up the floorboards. I take my turn at the bedside, check his breath using Mrs. Woolley's hand mirror, and press as close to his mouth as I could. At night, during those vigils, his lungs would rattle and clatter, like the sound of winter breakers on Sidmouth beach. Even when his fever burnt into me, I didn't care if he carried me off. Since that first day I called us out at the fish market, I couldn't imagine life without him. Mrs. Woolley kept watch like the good soul she was. I would leave him to her care to walk the 100 yards to the beach. Back in 10 minutes, I'd say. I stumbled down the stairs. In the kitchen, I warmed myself against the fire, took Stephen's smock from behind the door and coiled inside it. 2 sizes too big, but it kept out the worst of the cold. I lifted the catch from the back door. The wind forced out of my hand as it slammed behind me. Last night's storm sack shingled along the esplanade. Sky and sea merged into one. The greyness mirrored my mood. At Port Royal, I breathed in as deep as I could. I became unsteady on my feet as the southwesterly found new force. Near the sea wall, a group of fisherfolk pulled and turned their nets. One man tapped his pipe and fixed his eyes on me as if I was in charge. Stan Hooper pointed to the row of boats. "News comes from Bascombe," he said. "1 boat lost west of Lyme Regis, close to Charmouth. 10 drowned. 8 widows left behind." Inside, I couldn't feel the loss of others. Stephen done all he could. "The insurance reforms," I said. "Won't help them now," Stan Hooper went under his breath. "How is Stephen?" another asked. "No better," I managed to say. I turned away towards the town. As I looked back to the sea, I saw my cormorant dive off the shore. I stood and counted, held my breath for the time it took for it to surface. When I returned, I went upstairs, resuming my place by Stephen's bedside. I returned just in time. As pale February light poked through the window, Stephen drew his last breath. I set my hand over his. Mrs. Woolley brought a hand mirror and held it near his lips. No beat of life marked it, and she and I sat together, heads bowed. The undertaker visited, and we watched as 4 men bore Stephen down to the parlour. Later that day, I slept fitfully. I wonder what lay ahead for me. Harry Paynter, fisherman, bachelor. Next day, I went down to the scullery, took Stephen's smock down from its hook, and smelt traces of pipe tobacco. At his funeral, downstairs at the parlour, Stephen's corpse lay clean in the coffin. I got lost in a sort of reverie of memories, nights in each other's arms. At his funeral, people spoke of his ability to work with all sorts of folk, of his duty of care for the safety of fisher folk. The physical part of Stephen's personality is the dress. Stephen hated dirt. He rubbed his hands until they were bright red, yet he lived and worked in a world that was full of dirt and smelled like gutted herrings. After his funeral, I went down to the beach before we all gathered at the ship to toast his life. We sang hymns around the bar. For now, I needed to be close to the water's edge. Across the line of the bay, a single trawler chucked towards home. Tomorrow, I'll return to St Ives. Will I come back? Who knows? I know that wherever I am, my thoughts will carry his memory, like a precious thing tucked in my jacket pocket. As I scan the horizon, I see a disturbance in the water. The sea parts. My cormorant breaks the surface, lands on a groin, and opens its wings to the pale winter sun.